You're listening to the Ecosystem Approach Show. I'm Jason.
And I'm Patricia. Tune in every Monday at 1 p.m. Pacific Time and 4 p.m. Eastern Time on Transformation Talk Radio.
We discovered that human potential is severely limited when you program humans like a machine, which is standard practice today for self-improvement.
The ecosystem approach teaches you how to uncover your infinite potential by using natural methods that are truly revolutionary. Join us now for the Ecosystem Approach Show. Today's show is about uncertainty. Today, in 2022, there's a lot of uncertainty and fear and a lot of unknowns. Most experts will tell you what to do during times of uncertainty, but we know that taking action is not the most important part. Today, we'll discuss some real solutions. We are married intuitives with over 20 years experience who created the ecosystem approach for you. This is much different because we see human beings as ecosystems that need to be restored instead of programmed. We show you how to take an energy approach for internal discovery that is rational, practical, and useful for everyday life. Jason, there's a lot of talk about uncertainty today. Financial, job, even health. What are some of the things that don't work?
Okay. People use denial. Mm-hmm. They pretend like it doesn't exist, yeah. Or they create phony optimism.
Okay.
I don't suggest any of those because they're not real. So what I did, dealing with this particular question, is go on the computer, Google, and say, okay, how do you deal with uncertainty? Okay. And I got a whole bunch of great answers that I disagree with. So this is
what a surprise, right?
This is from the American Psychological Association.
Okay.
And let's just go through the list. One is be kind to yourself. Well, first of all, that's programming. Most people don't know how to do it. And usually they either do as a form of indulgence or they really don't know what they need in the moment.
So wait a minute. So be kind to yourself doesn't mean go eat a candy bar.
No.
Okay.
It depends. The problem is that because we have all this negative energy attached to us already, mm-hmm. and we've been programmed all of our life, okay. Programmed people don't have good judgment. So
true.
What's the solution? Using the ecosystem approach goes to the root cause of uncertainty.
Okay.
Let's look at another one. Reflect on past successes. Well, if you've ever tried to talk an emotional person out of their emotions, you know that this doesn't work. And believe me, I've tried.
He's pointing at me, although it's me that's pointing. And what he's talking about, when your emotions get in the way of objectivity or what's right for the solution or what's right for the situation, it's not real easy to get the correct answer or have something work.
Exactly. This all presumes that you're a machine and that you can program yourself to work in a certain way.
Right.
It doesn't work that way.
Okay.
So, but the way to get yourself out of negative emotions is to clear them using the ecosystem approach.
Okay.
Develop new skills. Well, there's nothing wrong with that per se. And what we see is that when you use the ecosystem approach, learning and skill development is much easier. Mm-hmm. Most of the difficulty with learning and skill development is negative energy. So if you're using
programming.
Exactly.
Okay.
Well, it's programming creates negative energy.
I got it.
Okay. So here's the other one. Limit exposure to news. Well, we've been doing that. I've been doing that, and it's like I got it, but I don't need to hear it 10 more times.
Okay.
So I've backed off. I don't want to hear about the possibilities. I want to hear what's happened because I've made the decision consciously from using the ecosystem approach and evolved consciousness to say, okay, I can't do anything about that. So, I've seen so many people, especially in this time of uncertainty, get worked up and make crazy decisions
Correct.
because they feel that things are worse than they really are, or that the threat is over here when the threat is over there.
Or
If
that-
you're a red person, it's the blue people, and if you're a blue person, it's the red people.
Right.
That just makes you crazy.
Okay.
So, here's the next one: avoid dwelling on things that you can't control.
Well, that's kind of what you were talking about a minute ago, but people work themselves up into a tizzy.
Well, and what that is, that obsessive energy is an energy. And instead of trying to force it, trying to talk yourself out of it,
Right.
program yourself out of it, you can just remove it using the ecosystem approach and the clearing process.
Okay.
So,
Next one.
take your own advice. Well, I love that. The problem is that when you're using your essence to give you advice, it's really high quality.
Yes.
When you're using negative energy to give yourself advice,
Negative energy / programming.
well, that comes from programming.
Exactly.
That's not positive
At all.
It can give you bad advice, basically.
Okay. Well, and here comes another candy bar thing.
Yes.
Engage in self-care.
Yes. Well, oh my gosh.
Okay.
It's just self-care comes naturally when you're using the ecosystem approach.
That's true.
It's just, and when you're not, you get distracted over here. You're doing a massage here. You're doing a salt bath over here. You're doing something else. But really knowing what you need in the moment requires removing that negative energy attached to you and asking your essence.
Correct.
What do I need right now?
Okay.
Okay. Control what you can. Well, I love that. I think that is good advice.
Okay.
But especially when you're guided by essence.
Yes.
When you're not guided by essence, you're making bad decisions.
Okay.
Here's the last one. Ask for help. Well, they suggest a psychologist or a therapist. Okay, this is the American Psychological Association. Okay,
I see.
and there's nothing wrong with that. Some people could really benefit from that.
Sure, of course.
We've both had therapy, but we found that we didn't. After a lot of money and time,
Correct.
we were more informed about what our problems were, but we weren't able to overcome them.
Correct.
We found that with the ecosystem approach, in contrast, oh my gosh, we were able to start to overcome them right away.
Yes.
And know them
Yes. Yes.
much more quickly. So, okay, there are a lot of programming solutions, but you can't program yourself out of fear or uncertainty or fear that comes from uncertainty.
That's correct.
It just doesn't work. You
Well,
can't.
both of us have seen that in action, that it doesn't work.
Yes.
But when we started doing the ecosystem approach, when we created this, first for ourselves and then others, what we found is that when we removed that fear that was, in front of us, around us, on us,
Yes.
we had much better clarity about what to do.
Well, exactly. And programming techniques never change the energy.
Yeah.
The root problem with uncertainty is fear, which is an energy.
Correct.
And if you don't change it, you're just spinning your wheels.
Correct.
So when you tell yourself how to think or feel, it's always programming. Don't be afraid, sweetie. It's going to be okay. It's some sort of platitude. Oh, things are always going to work out. Blah 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 blah, and it's just not true.
Okay.
It is just not true. So here's the other one.
Okay.
All bad behavior that comes from uncertainty is energy, and that can be cleared or removed or affected.
Okay.
And using the ecosystem approach, it's.
I want to add affected in your highest and best interest. And I'm not just talking about you. I'm talking about whom's doing the clearing for themselves. You can affect yourself in a very, very, very positive way as you've never been able to do before.
Well, exactly. And when, this is the time of year that we get a lot of calls. It's some form of OMG calls.
Yes.
OMG,
I hate my mother is the biggest one.
Or I just realized my mother's not very nice.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
like,
There's
all those things.
there's several different variations of the same thing.
And we never we do give advice, but usually the first thing we always do is take away the negative energy.
Exactly. So there can be clarity
Right.
between that person and whatever they seem to think is the problem.
Exactly. So when we tell people, if we were just an advice service, we were just the Dear Abby, of the world, and people came to us and said, "What should I do about this?" and we gave them advice, they probably wouldn't take it because of the negative energy.
That's still attached to them.
Exactly.
You have to remove the negative energy
Exactly.
first.
It's so obvious.
Well, and the most incredible thing of all was, and I'm just a short story. After you had started a lot of this, it was in the definitely new phases, and after you had started removing negative energy from me, I had like 10 things, like the very next day, that had already changed.
Yeah.
And the first one was the unworthiness that I was feeling about myself because of all of the past stuff in my life.
And when you feel unworthy, you make bad decisions.
Oh, you make really bad decisions. So, with all of that said, Jason, what are the key points of this segment?
There is a lot of programming solutions, but you can't program yourself out of fear of uncertainty.
Correct.
When you tell yourself how to think or feel, that's always programming. It doesn't last, it's not sustainable, and it doesn't work.
Yes.
All bad behavior that comes from uncertainty is energy that can be cleared using the ecosystem approach.
And by the way, it's easy.
Yes.
It's easy.
We're going to be doing it today,
Yes,
so
we
stay
are.
tuned.
Yes.
And the ecosystem approach teaches you to work with uncertainty by going to the root of fear and remove the negative energy.
I love it. In the next segment, we're going to talk about the ways people react to uncertainty and the triggers that can make you go to a dark place. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia, and you're listening to Transformation Talk Radio. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason, and I'm Patricia. And in this segment, we're going to talk about the ways people react to uncertainty and the triggers that can make you go to a very dark place. We are married intuitives with over 20 years experience who created the ecosystem approach for you. This is much different because we see human beings as ecosystems that need to be restored instead of programmed. We show you how to take an energy approach for internal discovery that is rational, practical, and useful for everyday life. Jason, what do you mean by triggers that make uncertainty worse and create real difficulty?
Well, here's a metaphor. A trigger is like lighting a fuse to a bomb, and then when it goes off, it creates havoc in your life.
Right.
Today, many people have multiple triggers and issues that are affecting them at the same time.
Yes.
Am I going to be laid off? The stock market's in the toilet. Will I have enough money? Will I get COVID? Will I get long COVID? Will someone close to me get sick and die? Will the hospitals be open when I get sick? There's all sorts of uncertainty today.
Sure.
And not to mention natural disasters. We live in an area where forest fires is the biggest.
Is one of the biggest, yeah.
But there's hurricanes, there's floods.
We don't have hurricanes, but there's still hurricanes and floods.
Yes. And they affect everyone. And what happens if I lose my house? What happens if all of a sudden I'm homeless? A lot of people, I call this piling on. This is typical of an Enneagram 6. Sixes do this really well. They'll say, well, I'm afraid of this. But then they'll think, okay, but then there's this, and then there's this, and there's this.
And one thing I want to say about the 6 is they'll admit, I'm afraid to this, but they won't say, I'm afraid of this, this, and that.
Or they start to spin in their own mind,
Exactly.
and it starts to pile up and pile up and pile up.
And I want to remind everyone that and you're going to talk about each one, but each Enneagram type, we all kind of have a theme each Enneagram type has, and I might be jumping ahead, but the bottom line is I want to remind you out there, audience, that these energies that you're holding on to from your Enneagram are negative energies attached to you.
Yes. Well, here's one of the biggest. Okay. We call them emotional triggers,
Yes.
and they have to do with your emotional story. So let me give you an example.
Okay.
When I grew up, my dad was raging. He was a rager,
All the time, from what I understand.
and I never knew when things might have been normal, but all of a sudden, phew, things would blow up.
Yeah.
So I was always on guard.
Yeah.
So for me, if someone in my orbit is raging, then I'm on guard.
Yes.
You know, I stand watch. It doesn't. What am I watching for? What am I standing guard for? I don't know. You know, But it's it's an emotional trigger.
Well, and you used that as a form of protection,
Right.
correct?
You had something similar.
Very much.
You know, growing up with your mentally disabled sister who had seizures all the time.
All the time, and you never knew when that trigger was going to happen. It could be during the day, but the most horrific ones were at night.
And so what happened?
Well, to make a long story short, my sister, you could hear there was a sound, the sound that she made, but also the sound of the bed hitting the wall type thing. She had a hospital bed, and you could hear it, from the jerking of the body. And oftentimes we would have to call the fire department. And in the middle of the night, when you're a young kid, and by the way, oftentimes I was the one that called the fire department.
So, but the point of this is that there was all this uncertainty. You could never relax because
not at all.
When you called the fire department, you had all these people coming into your house, and you couldn't sleep. And then when they left, or they would take Bonnie, what would they do? Would they take her to the?
Sometimes depending on the extent of things that were going on, but more often than not, sometimes the ambulance would come, and then they would have to take her to to Children's Hospital.
But the point is that this triggers you. So when there's uncertainty, you go to the worst, because for all growing up,
yes,
going to the worst when something bad happened, the worst always happened.
The worst always happened, and the other part of that was that we weren't allowed, the chaos in the family. We weren't allowed to ask why this was going on, or suggest that I was affected or someone else was affected in a negative way. Those were the rules. That was the programming I received. And I want to say, I didn't realize this. Jason said something the other day about what a light sleeper I am most of the time.
Yeah.
And but it comes from this. I always called it my mommy ears. I would be able to hear what was going on in the house. And
but if you hear a noise, then you go to the worst and say, "Oh my gosh, what's going on?"
That's exactly
so.
Right.
How do you relax when you have that kind of emotional story? So the point here is that your emotional story, if you look back at how you grew up, you'll get a good idea what your triggers are.
Yes, and sometimes I want to say this. We're talking about drastic triggers, but sometimes a trigger is you being numb. And I don't mean you being numb. I mean, I'm talking about, in other words, the big, huge extreme is that someone goes numb to life. And then how much do you miss?
Well, so when there's uncertainty, you go numb. You don't take action, you go numb.
Yeah.
You don't do anything, you go numb.
Yes.
There's all sorts of them. So the emotional triggers are a big one, and fear triggers, if you understand your emotional story, that's a biggie.
Correct.
There's also Enneagram. If you know your Enneagram type,
right.
Different Enneagram types have different triggers intrinsically. Okay.
Yes, they do.
And these aren't the last word about triggers, but just going through the Enneagram. Okay.
Right.
If you've ever heard of the Enneagram is a personality typing system with 9 different types. They're labeled 1 through 9. One is not better than another, and we use it as a very valuable tool because the Enneagram, from our perspective, tells you about the negative energy attached to you.
Like I was talking about a while ago.
The emotional compulsions.
Okay, so Jason, let's get started on that. Tell us about ones.
Ones have to be perfect. So if they're afraid or they have uncertainty, then they have to make everything perfect. They have to control everything. They have to make everything perfect.
Yes.
2s When there's uncertainty, oh, I'm going to take care of everybody else.
Right.
You know, threes act like everything is okay. Oh yeah,
No
things are
biggie.
great. We're gonna take it. That sort of thing. Everything's okay.
Right.
I'm good.
Right.
This is good. Five start thinking about all the possibilities without talking to anybody.
Okay, and what about fours?
Oh yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to leave out the fours. Freudian slip. Fours act out their fears.
Yes.
And I'm making a joke because Patricia's a four on the
Yes.
Enneagram type.
Exactly.
So they'll act out their fears. They'll act out the uncertainty, their fear of the uncertainty, that sort of
That
thing.
is correct.
Which isn't necessarily helpful either.
Well, of course it's not, because first off, it's a huge distraction.
Doesn't do anything
from what's going on.
Yeah, exactly.
In other words, it doesn't enable you or anyone else to take care of the problem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So five start thinking about all the possibilities without talking to anyone.
Yes.
Six can go into overdrive trying to anticipate all the possibilities of things that could go wrong.
Yes.
Sevens get busy even if it doesn't help the situation. They'll do this over there, this over here. Eights pick a fight or push others to prepare.
Oh yeah.
And nines just act like there's nothing wrong.
Or that if there is something wrong, the only thing they want is everyone to get along.
Everyone to get along and have peace with everything.
Peace, exactly. And by the way, we're not putting anybody down or calling out one more than the other. Of course, we're laughing at ourselves about the things that we're talking about. But the bottom line is our message in this segment is that the emotional triggers that we all have, because life happens. If you start using the ecosystem approach, you are going to be able to handle not only your life better, but all of the dramas, traumas, and chaoses around you, because they happen all the time.
We're hearing so many stories about people who are getting into fear. And they're concerned about, okay, where's the safe place to be without natural disasters?
Right.
What state, what's the color of my state, and is that going to be friendly for me?
Yes.
One of the things that we didn't talk about, which I think is a biggie, is people of color, women, LGBTQ, people, there's a lot of uncertainty. Even the prejudice against Jews and Asians, there's so much out there.
Well, everything's becoming very predominant or acute. Maybe you could say it
more public.
That's what I'm talking about.
Exactly so if you're in one of those classes, you think, oh, okay, am I going to be hurt? Can I go to work today? Am I going to be safe? Right. Am I gonna
or I'll do it from the mommy perspective. Can I allow or let my kids go to school?
Yeah.
Is it going to be safe for my children to go to school?
Mass shootings.
Shootings, or how about kidnappings on the way home from school or to school?
Yes.
I mean, I realize we're talking about some of the most devastating things that people can deal with, but they're out there.
And in order to assess them, it's not that you go to one extreme or another.
Not at all.
When you go to denial or you take too much action, but when you start clearing the fear, then you have some objectivity for your particular situation.
And yes, absolutely. And the other thing is when you start clearing the fear or whatever is going on, then you can have a balance and be able to see things. You can see that perspective and you can see that perspective over there, and even the one that's in front of you, or even the one that you can't see behind you. You have greater clarity because you've started removing negative energies that really get in your way.
You're talking about refined intuition.
I really am.
And that's the way we're designed as human beings. And we'll talk some more about that. We've talked about that before.
Exactly.
Stay tuned. Yes.
Jason, what are the key points of this segment?
Emotional triggers happen when fear of uncertainty teams up with your emotional story. Piling on uncertainty with additional fears and worries are just in the imagination can make you go a little crazy. Your emotional story allows you to understand what is behind the triggers and fears.
Right.
And the ecosystem approach is designed to help you with uncertainty and fears and all the triggers that can make you a little crazy.
Exactly. In the next segment, we're going to talk about what to do when you have the fear of uncertainty and then some of those fears happen or come true. We'll talk about this without programmed formulas or quick fixes. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia, and you're listening to Transformation Talk Radio. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia. And in this segment, we're going to talk about what to do when you have the fear of uncertainty and then some of those fears happen or, well, even come true. We'll talk about this without programmed formulas or quick fixes. We're married intuitives with over 20 years experience who created the Ecosystem Approach for you. This is much different because we see human beings as ecosystems that need to be restored instead of programmed. We show you how to take an energy approach for internal discovery that is rational, practical, and useful for everyday life. Okay, Jason. Many of us have difficulty with uncertainty because we're afraid of what might happen. But what do you do when what you're afraid of actually comes true?
If you're concerned about uncertainty, it's often theoretical,
Okay.
but not actual.
Okay.
You could be afraid of getting laid off, or afraid of getting COVID, or becoming homeless because of a natural disaster. But what if one of your fears comes true, or something that you didn't expect happens? Then what do you do?
Okay.
And since we've been doing this for the last 20 years,
Correct.
over
More.
20 years,
Yeah,
way more
yeah,
than 20 years
exactly.
now, and now it's going to cycle again. So anyway, we'll talk about that. But I guess it's closer to 23 years now.
It is.
So maybe we can round up after 23. We'll round up to 25.
Okay, there
Anyways,
we go.
so but
Wait, I'm uncertain about that. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist.
it's time when something bad happens, and we're going to give you some examples of what we've done, because during this time period, things that we've done, or our life has, we've had struggles in our life during this time.
Absolutely.
But what
we're
happens?
not. We are not oblivious or separated
Immune.
from the immune. That's the word I'm looking for to any of that. Go ahead.
The most important thing you can do for yourself is now's the time to decide to invest in yourself and your best life by starting to implement the ecosystem approach.
Correct.
Now. We know that when bad things happen, the energy attached to you makes it so much worse.
Correct.
And the opposite is true.
All right.
Often solutions and opportunities are hidden by those negative energies. So when you start
Yeah.
removing them, bad things happen, but you say, oh, I could do this, I could do this, I
Right.
could do that, you know? And we've seen that even when bad things happen to us, as we clear our way through it, so with all the emotions that come up, you know, fear, worry, we clear our way, and the outcome is eventually really good.
Exactly.
And that's not an exaggeration.
Right.
You know, things work out. So here's a great example, and we had fun with this one. When we first got together, you had this car, and now whenever we mention this car's name, and I won't mention it on the air, but it's a famous brand. You've heard it before.
Yeah, of
now
course.
she'll spit on the ground. You know, there's
It's
such
so ladylike, don't you know?
she's so disgusted by this particular this brand, this car. Okay, but we got the car. I knew it wasn't great, but it worked for us. It was functional.
It did.
And so we maintained it, and we had regular maintenance and all those things.
Right.
So one time we were having problems with it. We took it into the mechanic, and he said it needs an engine overhaul.
Right.
Now, it didn't have that many miles on it, and he said, "Well, you could pay me a lot of money to overhaul this engine, but it's still going to be a lemon after we're done."
Right.
You
no
know?
no matter what I do to it, no
Yes.
matter what my expertise can do, it's still a lemon.
It was a
Wake
car
up
that
and
was
smell the
known not to
coffee
be
here. Yeah.
it was known not to be very great.
Yes, exactly.
So we started clearing, and we decided to get a new car.
Right.
So we were gonna, we went to the dealership a couple times, a couple dealers,
And just to see, do we want this? Do we want that?
Exactly.
We were trying to make an objective choice.
and we were clearing our way through.
Right.
So we were, we thought, okay, we're pretty close. Let's see if we can go to this one dealership and make a deal.
Right.
So we were driving there, and all of a sudden,
We got off the freeway.
got off the freeway,
And the car lost power.
Yes.
It didn't exactly quit, but it lost its oomph to
It
get
felt
out of other
dangerous.
people's
You push
way.
on the gas and nothing happened. You know, and
Yes.
if you ever been, we were back in the Bay Area, and if you ever been in the Bay Area, the traffic there is not nicey nice. They are aggressive.
Very.
You know.
Yes.
So
Anyway.
we pulled into a gas station that we couldn't get service from. We could just get a candy bar.
Right.
Yeah.
Speaking of candy bars, but
Yeah.
that's beside the point. But I also knew that when I got out of the car, it wasn't time for a candy bar because I didn't want to make him mad. Okay, we'll just say it that way.
So, so we turned it off. We started clearing, and
We
we
did.
just took a minute and said, "What should we do? Where
Yes,
we,
yes,
how
yes.
far away are we from the dealership?"
And I remember distinctively clearing my fear that we were going to have to walk maybe a couple of miles to the dealership and leave the car that was
have
not
it
very
towed
happy
or what? Yeah,
whatever. And I'm totally overwhelmed.
none
But
of those options were very attractive.
No,
to us.
not at all, not in the least.
So we got back in the car. We did some clearing, and we started it, and it started.
And it started as if it was a brand new engine almost.
Well,
it was rather
it worked.
interesting.
Yes,
it was working. Yes.
So she said, "Go," and we went to the dealership, drove in the driveway. We went up to the parking
stalled.
stall, and just as we got to the parking space, it stalled. It almost gasped. It went, "Oh, yeah."
Exactly.
And
we're laughing now, but I got to tell you, we were kind of going, "Oh, what do we do now?"
yeah,
That kind of thing.
Really anxious, but and it's when you go to a dealership and you know that you can't leave because your car doesn't work. It's not. It's not the best time to make a deal, you
Right.
know.
And I know we're laughing right now, but it really wasn't funny.
You know, and but I knew what the deal we needed, and I did the homework,
And he's pretty good at that sort of thing.
So
I suck at it, but,
So we found the perfect car.
right?
We it was pretty much exactly what we wanted,
Yes.
and we drove away in that new car.
Well, but I think
We made the
that-
deal. We got
Exactly.
all the stuff that we
And
needed.
I think the funniest part about that one, this particular story is when they came in with the paperwork, they said, "Now I just want you to know, here's what we're going to give you for the trade-in." And I was like, I'm expecting them to say, "We want you to pay me more money," and we were really struggling, with money at the time, and so they gave us this amount, and I went, "Really?" And because the car was in my name.
The guy had this surprised look because he thought we were disagreeing with him.
yeah,
He was in for a fight or something.
Yeah. And I have to tell you, I didn't even look at Jason. I just we signed all the paperwork. We did everything that we were going to do. We got out. We got in the car. We had to drive more than a mile before I went, "Can you believe what just?"
And by the way, the car that we got, it's almost been blessed. I hate to use that word,
we
but
still own the car.
and it's
It still runs amazing.
it runs like a new car.
It does.
It hasn't had anything wrong with it other than just the normal
Well, we
wear
have
and
new
tear.
oil change.
Yeah, oil
tires
change, tires,
and,
yeah, brakes,
kind of
that sort of thing.
Sure.
But it's and it's what, 12 years old now? I think.
14.
Yeah, 14 years old.
Yeah.
It's a great car, and it's still a sought after car because it's so well thought of.
Exactly. And it's an amazing piece of machinery.
Here's the point.
Yes.
Without believing in magical thinking, because you can go off with the magical thinking. We know that when you start removing negative energy, good things happen.
Well, not only that, but then there's so many options that you didn't see with that negative energy blocking it.
Yes.
That you make amazing decisions.
The truth is that when you start moving negative energy, this isn't magic.
No.
This is the way the world is designed.
Correct.
And because we're in a programmed society where we don't ever use energy in the first place,
Right.
we don't see that.
Right.
But when you start clearing for a result,
Yes.
you can get it, whether it's health, money,
Yes,
relationships. And sometimes it takes longer. It depends on what's there. It
Right.
depends what the negative
Right.
energy is attached to you.
Exactly.
But good things happen.
Right.
Here's
Okay,
the
yeah,
other.
one more story.
And yes, and this is probably more consequential, but we're going to do it much quicker because we're running out of time. But in the beginning, when we first got started, we started doing free sessions. We started offering free sessions to people just to practice.
And not only
We were
practice,
both working.
but
We're
to
both
see
work-
what we could see.
Yes, we were both working full time.
Yes.
And we just moved in together and thought, oh my gosh, with these good salaries, we can put some money away. We can do what we need to do. Well, first, you got laid off. And we thought,
it was devastating.
Yes. Oh my gosh, what are we going to do?
Yes.
And then 6 weeks later, I got laid off.
Correct.
And it was like a punch in the gut. It's like this is not what we've been clearing for. But then a funny thing happened. Our business just exploded.
Well, and we did not expect that. I just
It
want to
was
say
the beginning
that to
of the
everyone.
ecosystem approach.
We didn't expect it at all.
People were paying us money, and we were making actually more money than we were before.
Absolutely.
And we were
And we were loving what we do.
It was just working really, really well. If you start removing the negative energy in your life, good things happen. Although, it's superstition to say, I want this to happen. I need this particular thing to happen.
Right.
That's superstition. But when you start clearing in general for more money, better health, better relationships,
and a job that you love and like,
things start to happen.
Yes.
Things start to happen. So
that's one of the ways that the ecosystem approach got started. There was a few others, but it was one of the major points. Jason, what are the key points of this segment?
invest in your best self by deciding right now to do the ecosystem approach and start removing the bad energy.
Yeah.
It's so important. Make that decision right now.
Yeah.
We know that when you start removing negative energy, good things start to happen, even when bad things happen.
Yes.
And when something bad happens, just start clearing every emotion you can think of and that you feel. And as they keep changing, fear, worry, doom,
Correct.
hopelessness,
Yes.
sadness, just keep whatever comes up,
Right.
keep clearing it. And then if you don't know what's coming up, clear numbness.
Yes, exactly.
The ecosystem approach teaches you to deal with negative emotions from both before bad things happen and after bad things happen. Start today. Don't wait.
Okay. Now, are we going to take the time right now to discuss how to clear?
If you want to start to have a better life right now, go to our website, theecosystemapproach.org, sign up for our free section. That's the way to say, hey, I made the decision. I'm going to have a better life.
Correct.
We're going to talk about how to do the clearing and remove negative energy in the next segment.
Okay, sounds good to me. Stay tuned. When we come back, we're going to help you start to clear the fears of uncertainty and remove some of this negative energy so you can be in a good position if something bad happens. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia, and you're listening to Transformation Talk Radio. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason, and I'm Patricia. And in this segment, we're going to help you start to remove the fears of uncertainty and remove some of these negative energies so you can be in a good position if something bad happens, because life does happen. So we didn't have time in the last segment. Jason, can you tell everyone how to remove negative energy?
This is how you do it. You can sit, stand, you can be walking, you can be laying down, no special posture needed. And when we say, I direct all my resources in all dimensions to eliminate, in your mind's eye, whatever we say to eliminate, whether they're emotions, barriers, veils, and illusions, gather those up in your body, blow them into the processor. I know Jacob's going to put a picture of the processor up.
Correct.
And it's that simple.
Okay.
So here we go. Let's practice, okay?
Okay, here we go.
I direct all my resources in all dimensions to eliminate the barriers so I can see that uncertainty at its root is fear and fear of the unknown.
Nice and easy. From the tips of your toes, take a breath and blow it into the processor. Okay, I'm going to keep on going. Is that okay? I'm going to shorten it up just a little bit and to eliminate the barriers so I can see that uncertainty and its associated fears are energies that can be removed. Nice and easy. Take a breath and blow it out.
And to eliminate the intense feelings of worry, anxiety, and stress I have about the uncertainties in my life. Take a breath. Clear those feelings of fear, hurt, or feelings of worry and anxiety and stress.
There you go.
Just gather them up.
All right. And to eliminate any feelings of fear, hurt, and shame I have that says I deserve the worst outcome of my fears and because of my fears.
Yes.
When the truth is, no, you don't. Nice and easy. Take a breath. That old pattern, throw it away. You don't need it.
And to eliminate the barriers so I can see that you can't program yourself out of feelings of uncertainty. It doesn't work.
Take a breath
Remove them.
and throw them away. And to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can see that when something bad happens, I just need to clear everything I feel. And by the way, firsthand, it works. Take a breath. Throw it away.
And to eliminate any feelings of fear, terror I have because something bad might happen to me.
Yes.
Oh, that doesn't serve you. That's like that's like weighing you down. That's like a ball and chain.
Exactly.
Take
a
those
breath.
feelings, yes, blow them in the processor.
And to eliminate the barriers so I can see that piling on the fears when I feel uncertain is a buildup of negative energy. And by the way, this could have been building up all of your life because you were programmed. You can't do anything about it. Nice and easy. You don't need it. Throw it away. Take a breath.
And to eliminate any resentment I have that all I've learned are programming methods and I don't want to start over again.
Oh, yeah. By the way, the ecosystem approach is a whole lot easier than those programmed methods. Take a breath. And to eliminate any resentment,
Resistance.
I'm sorry, my apologies, any resistance I have to changing how I approach my fears and the uncertainty in my life. Take a breath. Blow it out.
And to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can see that starting to remove negative energy in my life is the best investment I could ever do.
Yes, take a breath. And to eliminate the barriers so I can see that when my fears come true, I need to clear everything I'm feeling, because then you can have the clarity that you need to work with the situation. Take a breath.
And to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can see that clearing the negative energy in my life, good things start to happen.
Yeah,
It's not magic. It's just the way the world's designed.
exactly. Blow it out. And last one for this segment, or this part of this. And to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can see that my emotional triggers make my fears of uncertainty worse. You don't need it. Take a breath. Throw it away. Now, we're going to activate life force. Life force is the most powerful energy that anyone has access to. We're going to call upon it. We're going to ask it to come in through the top of our head, let it go all the way down our body and by the way, when it goes all the way down our body, we're going to ask it to move into the spots where the negative energies were that we were just clearing, so we can heal, so you can heal. It goes like this. I direct all my resources in all dimensions to activate life force energy so I can have less fear and more confidence by continuously clearing my fears. Nice and easy. Pull in that life force energy, and then right now ask that life force energy to replace where those that fears and all of those things that we've just been clearing have been, so that we can heal. Now blow out any negative energies left over. Jason?
And to activate life force so I can have hope to have less fear and more confidence by continuously clearing my fears, removing my fears.
I just did that one, but that's okay.
Okay,
Take a breath.
using the ecosystem approach.
Take a breath. It's good to reiterate
Yes.
things. There we go. And to activate life force so I can trust that I can remove the negative energy attached to me for a better life. Nice and easy. Pull it in. And let it go all the way down tips of your toes. Turn it around and blow out any negative energies left over.
And to activate life force so I can decide to focus on removing the negative energies in my life continuously and constantly.
Nice and easy. One more time. Pull it in. Remember, this energy is the most powerful. It's amazing energy when you figure out how to connect with it. Blow it out. And last one. And to activate life force so I can be happy and healthy, creative, and have laughter and love and fun, be able to heal, and be able to see be able to see by using the ecosystem approach who and what and where and why energies are in my highest and best interest. And if they're not, I have the ability to remove them starting right now. Take a breath and blow out any negative energy left over. Jason, what are we going to talk about next week?
We're going to talk about holiday emotions. How do you deal? Now, we've done this before. If you're one of those people like that loves the Hallmark Channel and everybody loves Christmas and you'll just have good associations with Christmas, then you can use this show to say, how do you deal with difficult emotions?
There you go.
You know, it's the same thing.
Okay.
There's all sorts of triggers during the holidays for all sorts of feelings and memories that are often bad and difficult and heavy.
True.
But this will tell you how to do that. And but even if you don't have holiday problems, this is a story to listen to.
Okay. Jason, you know, you always talk about ask the question, did the show touch anybody's heart today?
You know, we're saying something really powerful today.
We are.
We're saying that if you want a better life, the best investment of time and attention to that better life is to start doing the ecosystem approach. And the way you do that is first go to our website, theecosystemapproach.org, sign up for our free section, listen to our show every week, wherever you're listening from, whether it's, you know, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, we're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, and listen to the show, because every week we give you things to clear.
Right.
We apply this energy approach to life in different ways for your life, and even if the topic seems boring or doesn't apply to you, we always have a little different twist about how we deal with things that you've never heard before. It can be very, very valuable. And so,
what about Facebook, Jason?
You can go to our Facebook page and theecosystemapproach.org. If you're there, we have all the videos are there. Please like us while you're there. We'd appreciate that.
Okay.
And decide to make this a part of your life. Decide to make this something that you're going to do. You're going to invest in yourself.
Yeah.
By starting to remove the negative energies attached to you.
And I want to say to you, the ecosystem approach is the best thing I've ever done in my life. I don't know how I could have survived my years without it right now. I don't know how I could have done it. So with that said, we'll connect next week, Monday at 1 p.m. Pacific and 4 p.m. Eastern Time. This is Transformation Talk Radio, and you're listening to the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia.
Remember, your ecosystem is the most important one in the world.
Thank you for listening to the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia. I'm Patricia. Tune in every week as we discuss practical ways to apply the ecosystem approach and develop your potential to live your life on your terms. For more information, visit our website at theecosystemapproach.org.